everybody, welcome back to another Wisdom Wednesday episode with your girl Holly Ade. What's up? What's poppin'? How y'all doing? No, I'm being serious. How are you doing? I'm being so serious right now. I know that there's a lot going on. Your own life is happening. Then on top of that, there's a pandemic, and then on top of that, racism, the greatest pandemic of all. So how do you feel? And I think it's easy to dismiss your feelings, but I don't want you to dismiss your feelings because any feeling you're feeling right now is valid, whether it's confusion, whether it's I just don't know, bro, or whether it's I'm fed up, I'm tired, or whether it's I'm sad, or whether it's I'm angry, or whether it's I don't even know how to feel. I think these are valid feelings that you should take into consideration, and I'm preaching this and I'm saying do not go through this alone. I think even before what's been happening for the last 2 weeks, we should not have been. Don't go through this pandemic. Just don't go through everything that's happening right now alone. And I do know that some of us do not have the same circumstances and privileges, but please reach out to me. Reach out to somebody that you trust or that you just know you feel as if will be able to help you. Sometimes people just ask me, they don't know me personally, just like I think I can come to you. Find that one person you think you can come to, you can go to and talk to them. Plug into a community, please, I'm begging you. Moving on, I was scared. I was scared to come and talk because I'm a person I like to choose my words wisely, even in my personal relationships before I even speak out loud. I like to choose my words wisely because I don't want a situation where I never look at the full picture, and I don't want a situation where I speak without thinking about, dang, what about that person, or what about that circumstance? And for me, it's recognizing my biases, my privileges, my certain situation, and even on the other side, what biases and privileges do other people have or lack thereof. So I was really scared because this is a very sensitive time. I know there's a sense of urgency with everything, but it's also a very sensitive time, and I did not want to just rant and speak without not knowing. It bothers me when I do that, or when that just happens in general. So I do have my notes. In recent events and just in regards to everything that's happened, and I wanted to speak on things, and this is not particularly to share like a lot because Instagram only allows for 15 minutes. Oh my god, it's just so sad. I wish I could talk for years and years and years, but Instagram only allows for 15 minutes, and I just want to speak on what's been happening and how people are affected. And I don't consider myself a futuristic person because that's like a school of thought, and I'm still discovering my school of thoughts, thinking and things and philosophies. But the idea of Wisdom Wednesday is to empower, encourage, and inspire. And that's my hope at the end of this video, that you take away something. So first of all, foremost, I wanted to speak on the power of labeling things. In my own life, I think it's so important how you quantify things and you use the proper terminology. And I'm not seeing riots happening. I'm seeing a revolution. I'm seeing a revolution that's televised. I'm seeing people who are tired of fighting. I see the word riot and I'm like, that's not what this is. And that's just the first thing. Like, that's not what this is. And of course, I think it's important to recognize that with everything, there are extremists. Whether it's on the left side, whether it's on the right side. And there are opportunists, and we've seen that in history. Hitler was an opportunist. Stalin was an opportunist. But of course, with everything, there's opportunists. But I think it is important to go back to the deep root of everything. And even Anderson Cooper was talking about this yesterday. The reason people are in the streets, the reason people are raving, people are angry, is because of the systematic oppression of Black people that has festered, that has perpetuated, that has been invented in different ways, in different facets of life. And we are fed up and we're done. We're tired. We're over it. And of course, this has been a fight for years and years and years. But at the same time, it's just that idea of label this thing correctly, label what's happening correctly. I rest my case. That's just my mini rant before I start anything. So the whole gist of this is I wanted to capitalize on the fact that what we're working towards dismantling the oppression that has been happening towards Black people for hundreds of years now. And that comes in different forms. Why does it come in different forms? Because racism has perpetuated itself. It has found new forms. It has invented new ways. White supremacy have found ways to invent new ways that affects almost every facet of our being and hinders a majority of Black people from tasting a lick of the American dream, because it shows up in housing, it shows up in education, it shows up in English. I think I say that every video. It shows up in our professional world, it shows up in medicine and healthcare, and just the quality of life that we get compared to white people. And I think even to speak on what's happening in Nigeria, you know, where I'm from, Nigerian if you didn't know, it's not new news that that country, my lovely country, doesn't value human rights, especially the rights of women. And that's not right. These are things that are just not right. They're not humane. And you sit and you ask yourself, how is it allowed to just keep happening? Why are we having disagreements on racism? Why is that something that should be argued? Why should women's rights be argued? And you know, these are just things that you just sit and you question again. So the gist of this was to empower those that feel helpless, to recognize that you can do something. You may not be in the streets. I'm firmly like, you know, when you look at the structure of just how change happens, there's some people that are called for this, some people that are called for that, some people that are called for X, Y, and Z. You may not be in the streets right now with signs, and you may, because maybe your mom doesn't allow you, maybe your dad doesn't allow you, different life things. You may not be in that situation, but you still withhold power to provoke and evoke change in the world. You have power to evoke and provoke change in Black lives, in the lives of those who are marginalized on a day-to-day in our world. And I'm coming here to say, because I know, you know, I talk about this all the time. When I gave my life to Christ, I became conscious. Like, I literally woke up. And I'm not calling anybody to step out of their faith, to step out of their spirituality, but I'm calling us to wake up. I'm calling us to walk in consciousness of what's happening in the world, walk in consciousness of the marginalized people and their what happens to them, walk in consciousness of the fact that not everybody is in that same space and sitting that you are. Walk in consciousness of the fact that some people have fought for you to be where you are, and you have to be able to fight for other people to be where they can be, you know? And, you know, is the idea of, I became conscious and started transforming because I literally realized that life is bigger than me. And I became conscious of the fact that it's not merely enough for me to be Nigerian, for me to be Black, for me to be woman, and not recognize how they intersect. It's called intersectionality, read about it. And how they're affected and how these different identities are affected, oppressed, and I have to be able to do something about that. And not even just my world, other people's world. Maybe they're Black and disabled, or maybe they're Black and LGBTQIA and they're not affected, and they're terribly affected by laws, or even just those that are immigrants and Mexican and immigrants, and just how these things, they intersect and how they're affected and what I can do to help them. So the gist of this is the fight towards justice, the fight towards Black Lives Mattering, the fight towards humanity being resolved. It does not end in the weeks when the physical protests may end, and we're called for this fight, and we have to find our various ways to help. I'm here to mobilize you with strength. I'm here to mobilize you with the wisdom, the encouragement that you need to know that you do have a stake in this fight. You do have ability to help what is happening. And that's the thing, because I believe that we have various platforms that we are called to, that's for the betterment of humanity. You know, when I look at life and just in general, when I look at this, what's happening, and people protesting, rest in peace George Floyd, rest in peace Ahmaud, rest in peace Breonna, rest in peace to every person that their life has been taken away, like God taking away the hands of white supremacy. Amen. Okay. I think it's just so important. Like, I look at life as the body of Christ. Okay, he said that one arm, like the arm can't do what the leg does. Why did I want to do that? The arm can't do what the leg does, but they're still so special, and they're still called for a greater purpose. So you, in your space, in your platform, and you recognizing your mission and what you stand for and what you're fighting for on a day-to-day basis, you are still working. And you may not be out in the streets right now, but if you're, and this is the gist, if you're a student in your education, pay attention. Pay attention, because that is a platform that you will use to better the lives, whatever profession you decide to go into, whether it's education, whether it's politics, whether it's arts. Pay attention, because in that education you're getting, because Nelson Mandela said it best, education is the most powerful tool you can use to change the world. You will change the world. You will change the world, but it starts with you recognizing that, first of all, as a Black child, as an African-American child, somebody fought for you to be in your chair. I had to learn that. And then you want to use that space that has been fought for to go and change the world to make it a better place. So that's another tangent. I wanted the things to do, like I had 3 things, major things to do. Make it your mission that humanity is restored into every space you enter. It starts in the basic things, just being kind. It starts in a basic thing, just being aware of how what you do affect others. I think this idea in the forefront of every social justice conversation should be humanity, and humanity being restored into that space. Recognize your mission, acknowledge your mission, find your mission, make it your mission that humanity is restored into every space you enter. And that every humanity, whether it's a black person, whether it's a white person, whether it's an Asian, whether it's a Mexican, I don't give a flying fig. Make sure that no humanity is greater than the others, because I believe the same. We created the same. Secondly, become an active, I'm going to harp on this one, become an active citizen in your community. Any community you find yourself in, you are not there by mistake. Sometimes, it's so crazy. People laugh at me when I say I'm going to volunteer, or I'm about to spend my Saturday doing this. How do I essentially expect Black lives to be better if I don't help Black lives? How do I essentially expect other people who are marginalized to have better circumstances if I'm not in the streets helping them? I've always been the person, I can talk the talk, but if I'm not walking the walk, it's no point in me even talking the talk. It's like you can talk the talk for only but so long. If you're not going to do the work, it's pointless. So I implore and I encourage you to plug into your community beyond. And I say plug into your community, plug into your different identities, see how they are oppressed, and then see how you can help each identity, see how you can help each community. And I know that a lot of it is just recognizing that this fight is long. It's a longevity something, but it starts somewhere, and it starts with you just sitting and processing, how do I help the community that I'm a part of now? Whether it's going to help your kids at a local elementary school, mentoring them, encouraging them, or whether it's helping your community gardens. There's a lot of them in Baltimore City, helping them plant and helping them build their community, or whether it's shopping at Black communities, shopping at Black-owned businesses, because they say that Black people, they don't have good customer service. Yes, that's real, but which one do you want, racism or bad customer service? And that's not even to excuse that, but it's just important to recognize that we have to help each other, and we can check each other while helping each other grow. So of course, just find a way to plug into your community, and last but not least, get your education, go and change the world. I can't say this enough, and I guess, forgive me, I want to become a teacher, but I can't stress how important it is for us to, even aside from the education you get in the classroom, because of course that's already watered down, that's already desensitized, that's already almost unsaturated in a sense, and it does not even capitalize on the whole scope of what it might mean to be Black, So my thing is, read, research, and educate beyond what they give you in the classroom. I had to do that even to understand what the Black experience meant, because I knew my Africanness before I knew my Blackness, but I knew that I'm not Black for no reason. So I'm encouraging everybody to just educate themselves, to just enlighten themselves, and you just read and research for yourself, and you'll see the world change before your eyes. You would see things that you will gain new knowledge and understanding, and it will further encourage what you're doing, your fight, and how you want to move and show up in the world. And this is just all to say that it's just to encourage the helpless, those that feel as if I don't have a stake in this, or I don't know how to go about it. Where you find yourself now, just do more research, and you'll find out how you can help in your community, whether it's volunteering, whether it's even knowing about your history, because like I said, research, that's when you get educated and you know your stuff, you're able to enter spaces and dispel the false lies that they have said around you, around your Blackness, around your Africanness, around your identities as a woman, around your identity, whether you're disabled or you're LGBTQIA, what have you. I just think the power lies in knowing that you're not, where you're at now is not a mistake. Where you're going to be tomorrow is not a mistake. And educate, research, read, know your mission, know your purpose. Remember that Black kids matter. I'm out.